So when my friend Tara invited me to cook with her using a beautiful farm box that she had gotten, I could not resist. So I'm here today in Tara's kitchen and look at the bounty that we have in here. It is a dream come true for a cook. So on the menu today, we're gonna have a classic gazpacho from Spain, which will be a creamy type of gazpacho, which is much faster to prepare. As a main course, we will have a seared chicken thighs with fennel and leeks, Orzotto. And then as a dessert, and we will make a tart, a peach tart, which will be flavored with lime and rosemary. So I hope Tara is ready to do some cutting for me because I'm going to use the free labor. And let's get started, shall we? First thing first, we're going to start with the peach tart because the peaches are going to be marinated and it needs at least half an hour. So we're going to start right away. And by the way, this is Tara. We're going to start with the limes. We have 2 limes from which I'm going to take 7 strips of rind. And I'm going to put that in one of the bowls. I'm going to cut my lime and juice the lime in the bowl. Can you do the second one?
Sure.
Please. Oh, there's a French poodle actually coming to cook with us. How appropriate. Say hi. So I also have measured 2 ounces of white sugar, which I'm going to pour into the bowl. And this is going to be our marinade. I'm going to mix it until the sugar dissolves. And I am going to add 2 sprigs of rosemary. This being done, we're going to take care of the peaches. The peaches should not be too ripe because you do not want them to fall apart in your hands. They should not be too hard. They should be just at a little bit before you find them wonderful to eat so that they keep their texture. We're going to cut them, separate them. As you can see, it is like butter. And we're going to make, and I'm going to use my glasses, and I'm going to make slices which are, what is it? A 1/4 of an inch? That's basically it?
Yeah.
So a 1/4 of an inch. Try to make them as regular as possible.
Yes.
Go for it.
Thank you.
So all the peaches have been cut. I put them in the bowl with the marinade and using your trusted fingers, just go in there and make sure that everything is covered. Every piece of peaches is covered. Already the smell of the rosemary and the peach with the lime, not only, I hope you can see this, it is visually absolutely gorgeous. If that is not summer in a bowl, I don't know what is. So now the peaches are in the marinade and I mixed it well. I'm covering it with plastic wrap and we're going to set this aside for 30 minutes. You can do it for up to 2 hours, but beware of the rosemary. The longer you marinate the peaches with the rosemary, the stronger the taste is gonna be. And that might not agree with a lot of people already. Already the association of rosemary and peaches is a little bit strange for some people, but I promise you it is worth it. Next is the puff pastry. I have some puff pastry dough already made here. It can be bought at the store. Try to find a good quality one. The better quality the puff pastry is, the better tart obviously you're gonna get. I'm going to line my pan with it. As you can see, I did not over spread it because it is, after all, a very rustic type of tart. Just make sure that you apply pressure on the walls of the pan. I'm going to prick the dough all over with my fork, but I am not going to cut the sides yet. What I want to do is put this in the fridge for a minimum of half an hour. An hour would be best. You want the dough to rest and set inside of the tart pan. This way, when it's cold, then you can cut it and you do not have the risk of shrinkage when you're going to bake it. So now we're on to the gazpacho. Nothing is easier to make than a gazpacho. It is the perfect soup for the summer. It is with those beautiful vegetables that you brought. It's going to be phenomenal. So what I've done so far is I have 2 pounds of tomatoes that I've already cut and cored. Some people peel them, but because I'm going to use a blender, I find it is such a waste of time in my opinion. I have a light green pepper that I've also cored, cleaned and cored. I have either a small cucumber or half a bigger one like this that was peeled. Normally 2 cloves of garlic, but this is a pretty big one. So since it's going to be eaten raw, you do not want to overdo it on garlic. You can always adjust afterwards, but raw garlic goes a long way. I also have half an onion, which is small onion, either Vidalia or red onion. You want sweet, a sweet onion with this. And last but not least, 2 slices of sourdough, good quality sourdough bread, which crust had been removed. So with this, we're going to use cumin, salt, and pepper. The exact proportions are going to be on your screen. So Tara, what I'm going to ask you to do is you're going to take all the vegetables and roughly chop them. And, I'm going to put the vegetables in the blender. And I'm going to keep 1 small tomato or a piece of tomato, 1 piece of cucumber, so that's going to be diced as a garnish at the end. And this being done, we're going to blend that right now. So you're going to make it as smooth as you can, and then you're going to take your sourdough. You're going to open this and you're going to shred the sourdough in the blender. When that is done, you pulse again. Because the gazpacho does not contain any cream, the sourdough is going to bring the binding agent that's going to make your soup creamy.
A little at a time, yes?
No, you can just go for it.
Yeah.
Okay. And blend. You can stop. Now we're going to put 3 tablespoons of olive oil. Tablespoons of the sherry vinegar. One teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of cumin, and a few rounds of black pepper, basically half a teaspoon. Close it and blend. Open it.
So good.
Is it?
So good.
Anything you want to change?
Wow, no.
You want to add something?
No.
All right. So what we need to do
Wow.
now, because gazpacho gets better with age. Really, ideally, this should have been done yesterday, which is wonderful when you have a party because your soup, your appetizer, is done the day before. The flavors are going to develop overnight. In our case, we do not have time because I don't think we will be guests overnight. So we're going to wait at least 3 hours for the flavors to emerge. It's going to be in the fridge, and we're going to continue back to our tart. So we're back with our peaches. It's been 30 minutes. I'm going to open this. And Tara, come here for a second and smell this. So I'm taking another bowl. I'm taking a colander, and I'm going to pour everything in, because the juice you want to keep is going to become a glaze for your tart. So you want to make sure that it drains nicely, because you do not want to have a soggy tart. I'm removing, but not discarding, the rosemary and the lime zest. Actually, try one. Tell me what it tastes like.
Wow.
Do you feel the rosemary?
Yes.
Is it overwhelming?
No.
Good. We timed it well. So again, if you are not a big rosemary fan, or if you're not someone who really likes savory and sweet together, marinate it for a lesser amount of time, or you can absolutely omit the rosemary altogether. And I'm going to, again, reserve the juice. So we have the dough, which is now nice and cold, and on a day like today, which is summer in New York, it is really necessary because it is a scorcher. And remember one thing, summer, heat, humidity, puff pastry are not friends. So what I'm going to do is, with a knife, I'm going to go around and cut the edges. As you can see, because the dough is cold, it really cuts very easily. Before anything else, you're going to preheat the oven at 350 Fahrenheit. If you do have convection, please do use it. So 350 convection, and then we can go on. So now my dough is ready. The oven is going to be ready in a couple of minutes. And we're going to make rows of peaches. I don't know if you can see it. What if I do it like this? Now I'm going to see if I can work backward. So I think I am done. The colors are so vibrant. It's really such a beautiful summery dessert. And it's good too. So this is done. I'm going to put that in the oven, again, 350 Fahrenheit convection. I'm going to place the tart in the oven for 25 minutes. And in the meantime, I'm going to pour the juice in a small saucepan. And we're going to reserve this. All right, now on to the main course. We're going to make seared chicken thighs with Fennel and Leeks Orzotto. It is a beautiful, beautiful dish. You do not have to like fennel. Actually, I personally am not a fan of fennel, but I could eat this every day. We're first going to use leeks, and there is the equivalent of a big leek. Mine is pretty small, so I added some. Remember, leeks are dirty, so what you need to do is always slice them in half. And as you can see, the dirt is inside. So I'm going to go under running water, cold running water, and make sure that all the dirt is gone. I'm going to do the same thing with the fennel. So one bulb of fennel. I'm going to cut the tips. I'm going to keep some of the fronds. That can be put in a soup. I'm going to cut the bottom of it. Cut in half and go wash it. Or let Tara wash it. So what I have now is actually clean leeks, and I'm going to very finely chop the leeks. I'm going to go on to the fennel. I cut my fennel in half before washing it. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to slice it finely, like matchsticks, then turn them around and finally cut them. Tara, can you come do the second one? And I'm going to leave the hard bottom, the core behind, because it is extremely hard. We had the leeks. Tara has cut the fennel. That's going to be wonderful. I'm gonna need 2.5 cups of chicken broth. Then you're going to give me 8 ounces of orzo. 8 ounces of orzo, meaning half of the box. Again, this is for 4 people. So, and I highly recommend to double whatever quantity you're making, because I guarantee you, I'm going to put enough for 4 people out there. If I were to give for 8 people, everything will go, because it is that good. All I need now is 2 tablespoons of butter.
Started already.
It's been 25 minutes in the oven, so I'm going to take the pie out of the oven, and already you can smell the rosemary mixed with the lime juice, and it's really lovely. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to the stovetop where I have reserved the marinating juice, and I'm going to reduce this to about 1/4 cup. So as you can see, we are reducing the juice. It's starting to get a little bit syrupy. I think in about 2 or 3 minutes, it should be fine. So my glaze is ready. It has nicely reduced. So what I'm going to do, using a brush, I'm going to go to my half-baked pie, and I'm going to brush the pie with the glaze. All I need to do now is take the rosemary sprig that was in the marinade and take some leaves or needles. Is it needles or leaves for rosemary? Come on, English speakers.
I say needles.
Needles? Mm-hmm. I would recommend not, even though it would be very pretty, not to put it like this, because you're going to have, the person who's going to have that size is going to suffer, because it is potent. So I just put some needles here, and it's going back to the oven for 30 minutes, still at 350. The chicken. I'm using chicken thighs. Chicken thighs, skin on and bone in. That will ensure a chicken that is going to be so tender and juicy. So I'm going to pat dry the chicken. Actually, Tara is going to pat dry the chicken. And really generously salt and pepper. I count usually 2 chicken thighs per person. Do not be afraid of seasoning. That will make the steam so good. And this is what's going to happen. I like making this dish on a cast iron pan. The reason is the sear is incomparable. Also, the chicken is going to be par cooked on the stovetop, skin side down, then flipped and put in the oven to finish cooking. So the cast iron pan has the advantage that it goes from the stovetop to the oven. If you do not have a cast iron pan, no problem. Take a frying pan, sear, as I'm going to do, on the stovetop, then flip onto a oven safe dish and just put it in the oven still side up. I have a big cast iron skillet. I've put a little bit more than half a tablespoon of butter, and I'm going to nestle the chicken thighs skin side down. So you want them to be in one single layer. And I'm going to leave it like this at medium-high temperature for about 6 to 7 minutes, depending on how big the thighs are. In this case, it will be about 6 minutes. So it's been 7 minutes in this case. What I'm going to do is turn around my chicken. Look at how beautifully golden brown the skin has become. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to put it in the oven as is for 15 minutes at 400. So here we go. So the gazpacho is ready and our guests are waiting. So I took small ramekins, and again, because it is over 90 degrees here, I had to put a cube of ice in the ramekin to keep the gazpacho cold enough. I'm going to pour some of it in each one. And as you know, half of a dish is the way it looks, so we're going to make it pretty. Earlier, I reserved some of the cucumber and some of the tomato, which I chopped fine. So I'm going to add a little bit of tomatoes. Some of the cucumber. I have chopped some chives as well, so let's put some color. And because it is cocktail time, I'm going to take some cucumber slices that we are going to put on the side. And here you have it. That is the beautiful start of a summer dinner with a cold gazpacho. All right.
Thank you, Freddie.
Here you go. So I just took out the pie. As you can see, it is the crust is nice and crisp. The peaches are glistening and the aroma is insane. I'm going to unmold it because I do have the type of pan that has a removable bottom.
It looks beautiful.
So let's regroup. The gazpacho is done. The chicken will be done in 15 minutes. So now we're doing the orzotto. For this, I have a big pan over there in which I put 1 tablespoon of butter. In my pan with the tablespoon of butter, I am adding the chopped leeks and fennel. And I'm going to reduce it to medium-low and let it cook for about 5 minutes. The aim, the goal is to have a mixture that is like translucent, but you do not want the vegetables to get brown because once they get brown, they get bitter. So you just want to soften them, and as I said, it will take between 4 and 5 minutes. So the last thing we're going to do before finishing the orzotto, I'm going to take a lemon which I'm going to finely grate the zest. If you do not have a microplane, I highly recommend it. You will never get grated zest as fine as with this. And it works for everything from zesting a lemon or a lime, grating a piece of a clove of garlic, grating parmesan. It's really fantastic. So I zested my lemon. I'm going to now juice it. I also have put aside 1/3 of a cup of dry white wine. If you do not drink wine, don't worry, it's not absolutely necessary. Remember though that alcohol that's being cooked, the alcohol goes away. So now that the vegetables are really shiny and glistening, I'm going to add the orzo and mix it. And because we are more than 4 people tonight, I'm going to add a little bit more. And what I'm going to do is mix everything and saute. You want the juices released by both the butter and the vegetables to coat the orzo. You basically are going to cook the orzo like you're making a risotto. So you're going to saute the rice like this until it becomes nutty, a little bit brown, and you're going to smell that nutty smell, and it means that you can proceed. And it will take about 3 minutes. Before we proceed, I need to warm up the broth, and I'm going to put it in the microwave for about a minute for it not to be cold anymore. As you can see, the orzo, you can see brown spots, and you can smell it is becoming nutty. That is done. So what I'm doing, I'm taking my wine and I'm going to pour. The orzo is sucking the liquid out. You see how nice and brown the grain is. And by doing this, by sauteing the wine first with the orzo, we're making sure that the alcohol evaporates. And all it does is giving us, again, a very nice extra layer of taste. Now that the wine has been completely absorbed by the orzo, we're going to start adding the chicken broth. And we're going to add it half a cup at a time. And like a risotto, what we're going to do is wait until the liquid is absorbed, and we add more liquid. And this is, for me, something that I find very therapeutic. It's something that I really enjoy doing. Making risotto, for me, it's a very calming experience. You do not wait until the grain is completely dry, but you need to make sure that there's no more liquid. I'm going to add the second one. Warming up the broth actually makes it faster because the mixture does not cool down and doesn't have to be back at temperature again every time. My chicken is ready. Look at this. We're going to bring it to the side. Thank you, Jen.
Multitask.
Is I took the chicken out and I do not want to keep it in the pan because I do not want to overcook it. So I'm going to remove that. Again, the proportions I gave you are for 4 to 6 people. Time to add some more broth. You can see how the orzo is expanding. Is it still very crunchy, al dente?
Mm-hmm.
What is it?
Crunchy.
Okay, so it's
Hard,
still
hard.
okay. We go on. So from the moment you start adding the broth, it will take about 15 minutes, I would say, until the orzotto is ready. So the orzotto is ready. I'm going to add my lemon juice. Give it a good mix and let it stand for about 3 minutes. While this rests, since my chicken has waited for a few minutes, I'm going to quickly re-crisp it. Just to make sure that the skin is nice and crisp. Jen.
Oh my god.
Good.
That lemon.
The plating is very simple. What we're going to do is put some orzo. I'm going to add 2 pieces of chicken. Come in here. I'm going to add a sprinkle of lemon zest. And I'm just going to add a little bit of fennel fronds. And here you have it. You have the chicken seared on a fennel and leeks orzotto. And who takes the first one?
Thank you.
I'm calling service.
On the
A
chicken.
little bit goes a very long way.
Of the,
Where does the lemon go? On the rice or on the chicken or both?
On everything.
just, yeah, it does go a long way. Okay.
That is chicken. So here we have it. The gazpacho has already been drunk before or eaten. Do you eat or do you drink the gazpacho?
We actually spooned ours, but you
Okay.
can drink it as well.
So now we're going to have the chicken and the orzotto. The tart is ready to consume as well. So bon appetit everybody and thank you for coming.
Thank you. Good. Enjoy.
Wow, that's terrific.